Hey everybody, it's Allie Rittenhouse, and welcome to the first live episode. And today we're going to be talking about how to create brand standards for your business. Now, why are brand standards important, you might ask? Well, number one, it's very easy for you have contractors and web designers and virtual assistants that are assisting your business. Having brand standards in place will help make their job easier when they're doing things like social media or optimizing your blog. So it's definitely going to help save you and your contractors or employees time by having it. But it also helps you look more professional because everything that you put out follows under these brand standards, and it really helps your business flow and look professional out there. It doesn't look very professional when you have 5 different versions of your logo floating out in cyberspace. You know, one over here is pink and white, and the other one over here is yellow and some other color that doesn't even fall under your normal branding. That's really going to affect the way that people look at you as a professional. When you know your brand standards, it also helps you to really create this customized look on everything that you put out. Your social media posts are just as important as your blog post images. And maybe your speaker packet is just as important of having that brand on as your training documents that you give to your paid clients. So it's really, really important to have these brand standards in place to make sure that you look so professional, so clean, and so cut. And so that's why I decided that today we are going to work on this and help you clean it up so that when we start moving on with all of the great info that I'm going to be helping you with your business, you have these things really clean and crisp. So let's take a second, and if you don't already have paper, grab some paper and a pen. I'll wait a second. And we are going to start to create some flow of how your brand goes so that you either yourself can type it up and put it into a document, or your virtual assistant can do it for you as well. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to identify your brand, and we want to do that by looking at your logo. So I don't have it behind me yet. It will be there soon. But if you've seen my logo, it's a circle, and then it's got my script name, which honestly kind of looks like how I even sign my name. And so that is what you see. That is my logo. That is Allie. Now, based upon knowing what my logo is, I have a cursive font on there. So we're not going to want my cursive font that's on my logo to be the font that I use on absolutely everything that we put out. A cursive font is more for highlighting or a couple words in between text, but it's not going to be the meat of font of what we use for everything else. So by identifying that, that is something that's going to go on my brand standard, right? I know that my cursive font is reserved for headings. So I would actually put that on there. And then if you only want to use it in certain colors, you can put that on your brand standards too. So we'll talk about that. But right now we're breaking down that logo. So if you were to pull up your logo right now, what are some characteristics that you can pull out about it and write down, that you know that it makes sense for your brand to use these things throughout? Also with my logo, with the circles, we use circles in a lot of my design and promotional items because that helps tie into my brand as a whole. So anything that you can write down from your logo is going to help you get started on what those standards are for your brand. What type of geometric shapes do you like? Even if they're not in your logo, what shapes can you use that help represent you as well? There will also be a PDF form that you will be able to download that will help guide you through putting this all together after you watch this video. Now that you've got your logo down, now that we've identified just some of the areas of your brand based upon your logo, let's start to think about theme words that when you think of those words, you think of your brand, or vice versa. When you think of your brand, these words come to mind. Now I want you to jot them down. For me, it's probably classy and elegant, yet functified, and fancy's been my new word lately. We know that I like to curse and use words like shitballs. So things like that, you know, anyway, I'm not going to put shitballs down as my brand word, but knowing that maybe I'm a little bit offensive. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So those kind of words that tie into who I am as a brand will also help you along the way. So I said classy, elegant, glitterati, glitter. We all know that I love that. In fact, the unicorn above my head is going to be all decked out in pink glitter for the corn. So, you know, cute. Cute is something that I'm probably going to have stick with me until I'm 100 years old, but I definitely get that. So, you know, what words come out when you think of your brand? The reason that these words are going to help out is because when your assistant or your social media coordinator starts to look at your future items, like if they're searching for pictures or quotes or anything to include, these words can help them decide whether that picture might work or not. So I think it's fair to say that if somebody was searching for me and they came across a unicorn picture or a picture with fancy heels and a big fabulous dress or big sunglasses or glasses, anything geeky, I think that it would be very fair to say that they could use that for my social media as my brand. So think about these theme words that would be helpful to have in your brand standards document and write them down. It can be as few as 5 to as many as 10 to 15. Whatever works for you and you know is going to help anybody that looks at your brand. Now that we've kind of dived into that, let's talk a little bit more about what's actually going to go into your brand standards page and how it ties into everything with your brand. Again, you will find a PDF that you will be able to download so that it will help you to create your brand standards. So now that we've got some info about your logo, you probably have your colors wrote down, what shapes are involved, what fonts are involved in your logo as well. Those are very important to your brand standards and are actually going to come up first. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to start that document off with your logo at the top. After all, this is your brand standards. You want to brand it. So make sure that you have your logo, tagline, all of that up at the top. You then want to break down that logo and use arrows to point to the font and to the colors. And you want to list your colors on that page. Again, I will show you mine so that you can see an example, but this is really, really important to create so that anybody that's assisting you can easily have this info. Let's say that you get picked up by a magazine or some kind of print document and they really need this info. This is going to be easy. You send it over to them along with the logo and they can easily recreate it. So you're going to break down your fonts and your colors and your logo on that very first page. Those are the most important details. I also recommend listing out exactly the font name and where it's used at in that logo, so it's very clear and concise. Then you will also want to have those color swatches. And if you're unsure of your exact colors of your brand, you need to know those now, because you want to only be using those colors on everything that you're putting out. So to easily find them, you can download Chrome, the browser, the internet search browser. You can download Chrome's. It is called Color Picker. Hold on. Color Pick Eyedropper. I'm sorry. Color Pick Eyedropper. So you're going to want to download that extension. It's free. We're going to have a link for you. So if you don't have one, you can use that. You can also use Photoshop and other programs that you can design in if you are versed in that, or your virtual assistant is. But if not, then this extension of Chrome will allow for you to click any place on a website and find out those color codes, and then include those color codes on your brand standards. And you can do this all in a Word document. It doesn't have to be some fancy program. You can have it all listed in this Word document. Take screenshots, copy and paste. You will see that's what we've done on mine. Then you want to be sure to include any notes about your design and the layout of it. So does there need to be a certain amount of white space, or can it only be used on white backgrounds? Maybe for me, we use lots of blocks and circles paired together. And the blocks are very fluid, so they go all the way across the screen, almost like ribbons. So those are very specific design standards that we have in place. Anything else that might be helpful? If you do use 2 different fonts or 3 different fonts, like we do occasionally, then you want to be sure how those fonts are paired together is also specified, if you are specific about it. Let's say that you know that Helvetica, I'm probably saying it wrong, and Gershwin don't look the best together, but Allure and Helvetica look great together. So if you want to make sure that those 2 are the only 2 that are ever paired together, put that in your brand standard so that people can easily follow along, and it kind of takes that guesswork out for you of what your brand should look like, and it's very specific and detailed of how exactly it should be handled. Any other visual guidelines? As I said, we use the ribbons and the circles, specific things like that. My images, we have some from studios, we also have some from outdoors. So we can pair the 2 together when looking for stock photography to use in my business, because I've brought those 2 into my brand. Again, this is all about you, your personal brand, and what it's made up of. So be sure to put any notes in here that's going to help somebody. You may not, if you are a very corporate brand, you may not want a stock picture of a girl with adorable heels on holding balloons. It may not fit your brand at all, but it fits my brand, and it's something that I would allow for somebody to use or expect somebody to use after reading my brand standards. So this is all what you should be kind of including in your brand standards. It's not all required. It's just what's ever going to be helpful to anybody that is helping put your brand out there, whether they be a web designer, a PR person that's maybe helping pitch your podcast, or even a virtual assistant that's helping you keep up with social media. Whatever it is, know that your brand is taken care of once you have these brand standards in place. Again, we are providing you with a PDF that you can easily download to follow in setting up your brand standards. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This has been Allie Rittenhouse, and I will see you on the other side. XO.